Hi everybody, I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show, where we watch old 16mm films. And that last film was a home movie from the Feinbergs, and this came from a collection in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I don't know, were they celebrating Purim? Probably Seder. It was probably a Seder for a Passover, if I had to pick something. But some amazing footage of in the kitchen. That was capturing who was doing what. So we like home movies here at AV Geeks because they capture things that weren't always captured by other means. Behind the scenes in a restaurant, behind the scenes in a family event, religious holidays, etc. So I guess today we got a double shot. We got Purim and we have St. Patrick's Day. I'm looking to find something that maybe is appropriate, at least for St. Patrick's Day. We'll see. We'll see how we go. But in the meantime, behind me I have a telecine. We have a 16mm film set up for watching. So let's watch.
Once upon a time, there was a boy who had trouble. And his trouble was monsters. This is his song. Oh, I know the monsters who live beneath the sea. Oh, I know the monsters, and the monsters, they know me. His trouble was monsters, but also his monsters were his troubles. Every time he had a trouble, he'd see a monster. One day when it was Monday, I lost my books in school. My teacher glared at me and said, "You've broken every rule." Said a monster, "You'll fail in school someday." "Oh no," said I, "I'll try and try." And the monster ran away. Oh, I know the monsters who live beneath the sea. Oh, I know the monsters, and the monsters, they know me. Just do your best in school, and you don't have to worry. I fell asleep on Tuesday and dreamed an awful dream of grown-ups knocking at our door with faces strange and mean. When a monster, most grown-ups must be feared. But I thought, I find most grown-ups kind. And the monster disappeared. Oh, I know the monsters who live beneath the sea. Oh, I know the monsters, and the monsters, they know me. Most grown-ups are nice people, just like most kids. At 4 o'clock on Wednesday, my friends all ran away. I felt alone, and on the phone a monster voice would say,
"Nobody likes you, why don't you go away?"
But I knew he lied, 'cause the monster died when I made new friends that day. Oh, I know the monsters who live beneath the sea. Oh, I know the monsters, and the monsters, they know me. Always be ready to make new friends. My home was full of fighting on Thursday afternoon. Each person was so angry that I thought they'd blow up soon. Said a monster,
"Your home life is a war."
but peace and health inside myself threw the monster out the door. Oh, I know the monsters who live beneath the sea. Oh, I know the monsters, and the monsters, they know me. Peace and happiness start inside before they happen outside. Some older kids were taking drugs on Friday after school. Although the drug was bad for them, they thought it was so cool. Went the monster,
"Someday you too will start."
oh no, I said, I'll use my head. And the monster fell apart. Oh, I know the monsters who live beneath the sea. Oh, I know the monsters, and the monsters, they know me. It is dumb to abuse drugs or anything else. I visited on Saturday a Technicolor school. Black and red and yellow and white kids swimming in a pool. Cried the monster,
"It's not right."
oh no, I said. Skin just hides the same insides. And the monster fell down dead. Skin color should not separate people. Oh, I know the monsters who live beneath the sea. Oh, I know the monsters, and the monsters, they know me. And that's the way you can fight your monsters. If you take this boy's advice and remember the secrets, you can sing this song. Oh, I know the monsters who live beneath the sea. Oh, I know the monsters, and the monsters, they know me. Oh, I know the monsters who live beneath the sea. Oh, I know the monsters, and the monsters, they know me.
Wow. So is that let me stop this. Sorry. Is that a toe tapper candidate for potentially going up against Found Footage Festival? I've reached out to them and to see when we can progress with AV Geeks versus Found Footage Festival Toe Tapping Tournament 2022. Where they will be vying for, if I lose, they might get the clown painting that's behind me, the Thanksgiving clown painting, or they might get the club painting, which is what I won from them last year, and they're hungry for a win. So it would be something we would probably edit down because it's kind of long, but probably put a couple of stanzas in there. Anyways, I had not seen that film before, and it's this is why we do what we do, so we can watch these films. I had no idea Me and the Monsters would involve racism and drug use. So there you go. Let's learn about what NASA's global weather experiment was all about. Enjoy.
Please set your volume control to the level of my voice.
The trouble is, the weather can't make up its mind about what it is going to do until just before it does it. Our job is to find out how far ahead the weather shows its hand.
The global weather experiment will give us an extraordinary opportunity to get started on the question of why our climate behaves the way it does. Not only to help guide us in our human activities, but also to warn us in case some of those activities may possibly turn around and influence the climate itself.
The global weather experiment is the largest international scientific experiment in history. 140 nations are participating. The laboratory is the whole planet Earth. Dr. Verna Sumi, Chairman, U.S. Global Atmospheric Research Program.
For the first time ever, we'll be able to see and observe the atmosphere on all scales. The northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, east and west, poles and tropics.
Dr. Rex Fleming, Director and Coordinator of the U.S. effort in the global weather experiment.
Thousands of observations, computer programs, software, systems tests to check out each of the components. Ships, airplanes, buoys, satellites, all must be ready at the same time. It's just a tremendous effort. All has to go off together.
To make it all happen requires the cooperation of all nations. Chairman of the International Joint Organizing Committee, Dr. Joseph Smagorinsky.
There's been a steady improvement in the reliability of weather forecasting over the last 25 years. Much of this has come from the growing use of large computer models of the atmosphere. But it's becoming quite obvious now that any further improvements are going to require an extraordinary effort in order to increase the reliability as well as the range of weather prediction. That's what the global weather experiment is all about.
More accurate and long-range weather predictions can be of vast value to man in planning his weather-dependent activities. But we can't predict the weather with 100% accuracy at a specific time and place. Drought in this place, flood in another, the energy crunch. 4 billion people in the world, going up to 6 billion before the year 2000. Where are they going to get enough water, enough food? How much energy can we afford to get the things people need and want? Of course, most people are concerned about weather. They deal with it and talk about it all the time. To builders and engineers, it affects location of a project, startup time and pace, whether special equipment will be needed, different construction materials, when to pour concrete, how to make best use of labor. To people in transportation, it involves schedules, which route you take, maintenance, how to adapt to what can be expected from the effects of rain, heat, or cold. To the farmers, it's not only when to plant or whether a crop will succeed or fail, it's even a matter of whether fertilizer and chemicals can be spread on the surface of a field because expected rain will work it into the soil, or whether 12 tons of disking rig and tractor will have to be hauled around to incorporate those chemicals because there won't be any rain to do it well enough. To the power people, it's how much energy will be needed for darker days or longer nights, for hotter days or cold. To all of us, it can be a matter of life and death. Every energy process we use generates heat. That's a law of physics. So with all the increased use of energy for the things we have to do, we are producing heat more than ever before. And now we have a new danger, thermal pollution, heat held in by the blanket of our atmosphere, what some have called the greenhouse effect. How far can this go before every year we melt more and more of the polar ice cap with all the consequences that could entail for the whole planet? Or is the planet in a long-term cooling trend more significant than all the heat of civilization? These are the kinds of things we've got to learn more about. How predictable is the atmosphere? Do we know how it works? Absorbing and transmitting the tremendous radiation of the sun, held in the force of gravity, and rotating with the Earth, the atmosphere is a complex system. The lowest layer of the atmosphere, the troposphere, where most of our weather is generated, is a thin shell, like the skin on an apple. Here, water vapor rises from the surface of seas, evaporated by the sun. It is dispersed and carried along with large air masses and winds caused by differences in temperature. The spinning Earth produces large-scale, planet-wide waves which carry our good and bad weather. These waves are long-lived, and so we are optimistic about improving our forecasts. At about 35,000 feet are narrow bands of strong winds, the jet stream. These winds sometimes break down into irregular areas of very intense winds, making forecasting more difficult. Under these conditions, we sometimes have severe storms. Such irregular and turbulent motion is impossible to predict in detail, so there are limits to how good our predictions can be. Using measurements, the old way with thermometers and balloons, and the new way with satellites, we make the atmosphere visible to the computer.
Where do we get numerical forecasts? Most of these come from the National Weather Service, from observations provided by weather stations around the world. These are part of the existing World Weather Watch. The network of stations isn't too bad over the continents of the world, but it's simply not complete enough. It can't be. The reason is that the weather has global roots. We simply don't measure enough for the world's oceans and atmospheres.
What does it take? How much of the globe would we have to observe for accurate forecasts over various periods of time? For a 1 to 2 day forecast for the United States, we need information gathered from 20 degrees north of the equator to about 75 degrees north. and up to an altitude of about 10 kilometers, or about 33,000 feet. For 3 to 5 days, we need information about the surface temperature of the seas, too, and must extend our sensors still higher in the sky and south of the equator. For forecasts beyond a week, we'd have to have data from every part of the planet, from hundreds of feet beneath the sea to miles into the sky. Right now, our existing surface observation points are more or less like this. We have land stations and ships at sea. But what we really need is a full three-dimensional picture of the atmosphere. Our upper air observations, balloons, planes, and satellites, give us the profiles of temperature, pressure, humidity. But there are too few of them for long-range predictions. We get adequate weather information from only 15% of the Earth. This tells us what's happening at particular places at particular times. But weather is being generated everywhere. It's global and linked in space and time. And the gaping holes in the information grid, most of them in the southern hemisphere, are holes in our ability to forecast and in our understanding. In 1967, the long-term Global Atmospheric Research Program was begun. The experiment is part of it. All over the world, an intensive probe into atmosphere and ocean dynamics and interface is going on. For the global weather experiment, our observation points cover the globe as never before. The strategy was therefore to augment and improve the World Weather Watch and use that as the basic observation platform, to time the experiment, to make use of polar satellites and 5 new geostationary satellites that could cover most of the planet, and to coordinate agencies and scientific organizations from virtually every country on Earth. 4 polar orbiting satellites, 2 from the Soviet Union, 2 from the US, supplied temperature and humidity profiles, data on clouds, and sea surface temperatures. 5 geostationary satellites observe cloud motion and report on winds in tropical and lower latitudes. These are provided by the US, Japan, and the European Space Agency. The satellite coverage extends over a greatly expanded World Weather Watch observing system, supplemented by ship reports of surface conditions and reports from commercial aircraft, many of them equipped with automatic instrument packages rigged to their navigational systems. Still, there are gaps, mostly in the tropics and farther south. During the experiment, the area from 30 degrees north to 10 degrees north is well covered by Weather Watch land stations, ships, and aircraft. Now, from 10 degrees north to 10 south, in that important tropical band around the equator, we supplement our existing systems, especially during 2 concentrated observing periods, with tropical wind ships from more than 20 countries and specially dedicated to this project and to the oceanographic objectives of the experiment. Special U.S. aircraft releasing dropsonde instrument packages by parachute along carefully laid out tracks. And an armada of constant level balloons at high altitudes to give readings where the aircraft can't go. And in the southern latitudes, the value of the satellite systems is greatly increased by deployment of drifting buoys to measure surface temperature and pressure over vast expanses of southern oceans. These are provided by Australia, Canada, France, New Zealand, Norway, and the US. Assisting in the deployment of these buoys will be Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and the Soviet Union. Much of the information is radioed to satellites, stored and relayed back to Earth stations on a regular schedule. With these systems, our grid of good information should look more like this: data for a whole Earth view.
This coordinated research plan has been provided by many scientists, oceanographers, and meteorologists working with the United States Committee for the Global Atmospheric Research Program. But this is only the beginning. Research using this data will take several years and will be conducted in laboratories and universities throughout the United States and the world.
The global weather experiment should have several outcomes. First of all, we should determine what the ultimate limits of weather prediction are. We would then be in the position to say what it will take in the way of a global database and in more sophisticated computer models in order to get as close as possible to this ultimate limit.
What it means to the world is, ultimately, better control of food, water, energy. A lot of scientific work has brought us to where we are today. It will be years before all the research will be completed, but we are moving. We have shifted our point of view from here and now to what's going on in many places, and now to a whole Earth point of view, a truly international experiment.
Yeah, it was weird. The lip syncing on that, the audio sync was off, and normally that doesn't happen when we are playing stuff from a file. So it might be that that file, the MPEG-4, was rendered weird. Not 100% sure, but I am sure about this next film, which I need to change the title on. It's set up on the telecine, and it is part of that wonderful series, At Your Fingertips. And this is about play clay. I have a funny story about play clay that I will tell you after we watch this. Enjoy.
One cup of salt. 2 cups of flour. 1 cup of water. And you have homemade clay. You can shape an animal by laying it over a roll of paper to dry. When it is dried thoroughly, you can remove the paper roll. Instead of food coloring, you may want to add tempera paint to the white clay. If the clay is too sticky or soft, add more flour. These brilliant colors make pretty jewelry. Through the holes you make with a pencil, you can thread soft yarn to make a necklace. The different colors will stick together and dry as one piece of clay. Turn the sculpture over and remove the plastic wrap so the underside of the clay may dry thoroughly. plastic spray or a coat of shellac on both sides will keep your clay sculpture strong and bright. The next time you want to use clay, try making your own.
So, I used to do this series at the local public library, and what we would do is we would show a film, or a couple of films, then we would have a craft activity, and this was being shown to young kids. And so I showed Play Clay, and I showed a couple other films involving clay that were fun and interesting, including Palakadooskip too, of course. And the children's librarian and myself and my wife, we, like, beforehand, we made a bunch of play clay in the kitchen here at the archive, and did color and all this stuff. And so we had, like, lots of big, like, bowls filled with play clay. So we brought them, we showed the films, kids got very excited, and then it was craft time. So then we give everybody, you know, a ball of play clay to play with, and I would say immediately kids started, like, pieces started dropping on the floor, on the carpeted floor, and they were just, it was almost like they intentionally just rubbed it into the carpeting. It was a horrible mess, and we tried to clean it up as much as we could afterwards, but it was just, that room was wrecked. And that was the last time we were invited to do a show there. Even though we had done several craft-related things prior to that, and that was just like, that was the finale. We went out with a bang. And so, there's play clay at your fingertips and ground into the carpet on the floor. So I'm on cold medication, so my brain is just kind of barely kind of chugging along here. So we're going to watch this next film, which is called Working Together. It has nothing to do with St. Patrick's Day or Purim. I apologize. So here we go. Working Together. Enjoy.
Of the American Lead Pencil Company. And this is the story of how labor and management here dealt squarely with some basic problems that face companies and unions everywhere. The film was made here and all but 2 of the people you will see are actual workers or company officials. It was 1937, a year of national labor turmoil. The causes went way back, but the fight actually began here with a pink slip. It was the last straw. As John Lombardo and his fellow workers saw it, none of them were getting a square deal. They'd already agreed on what they wanted. Vacations with pay, sick leave, a chance to advance, higher wages. There was only one answer: organize. See you Tuesday. Until Tuesday. By Tuesday, in 3 days, the plant was organized. Management was suddenly confronted with a unified labor force. There wasn't any pencil workers union, but they were taken into the textile workers and became Local 77A. Then they asked management to sit down and listen to their demands.
Believe me, when we walked into that conference room and saw all those brass hats looking down our throats, we were plenty scared, especially of the plant manager and Mr. Lewison, the labor relations man.
As for me, I was very nervous as I looked the union delegation over. There was Irving Zeichner of the shipping department, John Lombardo, who worked in the lead mixing room, and the others. We never had a union in our plant before. We frankly didn't want one now.
I'd like to open this meeting by pointing out that the workers can't prosper unless the company prospers. That means we have to work together. Cooperate. Now, whatever your demands are, just remember one thing. You can't pay out more than you take in. Now, what are you asking?
This is what we want, a 25% increase in wages.
You're kidding. Where's it going to come from?
It's impossible.
We want a union shop.
And dues check off.
Collect your own bills.
Seniority rights.
We've got to do our own hiring and firing. Oh, Johnny, it looks like we'll have to go...
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You people have thrown everything at us, including the kitchen sink. We have to have time to think this over.
Okay. When you fellas are ready to talk business, call us back.
Anything new today?
Nah, the whole week gone and they're still talking.
Anything new?
No, Mac, nothing yet. Okay, fine. Okay, Mac, I'm on my way.
What's your offer?
5% increase in wages.
We'll take 15.
5% is all we can give. But not only that, vacations are out.
We demand vacations with pay.
We insist on a hiring and firing
Nothing
clause.
doing. We can't go along with
All right, all right.
Understand that?
Okay. We'll try to work out some compromise.
Well, gentlemen, we'll call a caucus and let you know about it.
Okay.
It was a long, hard fight. In the end, both sides compromised. The union got a 9% raise, union shop, check off, vacations with pay, grievance machinery, and seniority. Management got a hiring and firing clause and arbitration machinery. They hoped they would also get a more satisfied, loyal, and productive labor force. Neither side was completely happy. The union thought things should have been improved much more. Management felt they had been pushed around. They were worried about how the grievance machinery would work. And they soon found out. On September 27th, it was a small fire. There was almost no damage. 2 hours later, it was all over. But on Saturday, it showed up in their pay envelopes. They were all docked for the loss of time. They didn't like it because they felt it wasn't their fault.
What are you going to do about this?
Don't worry. They're not going to get away with this.
They had a long and bitter argument. Management felt some people were legitimately entitled to be paid. Others had taken advantage of the situation and gone home. Finally, they arrived at a compromise method of payment. And the pattern was the same throughout the years. The union and management battled and argued over every grievance, and at least 1/3 of the grievances went to arbitration. Then, in 1940, they began to negotiate a new contract.
Let's face it, fellas. The last 2 years have been pretty tough for all of us. And here you are again asking for more money. You know as well as I do, we're in no position to pay any wage or rate increase.
Who are you kidding, Mr. Lewison?
I don't care whether you believe it or not, Lombardo, it's true.
Yeah? Where's the proof? We must have sold millions of pencils last year. Why don't you show us some proof?
Okay, Lombardo, we'll give you your proof. You bring your union auditor here and we'll let him examine the company's books.
All right, Mr. Lewison. We'd love to look at your books.
You see, fellas, I've checked the books. And what they told you was the truth. There's no doubt about it.
You were right about the books. But just the same, we've got to get a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. And we ain't getting it now.
We're not getting a fair day's work either. How do you expect us to pay a penny more until we cut our production costs?
Trouble is, you're not making any money because of the way your plant's being managed.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Well, the trouble with you workers, you're not producing enough for us to give you better wages.
Is that your last word? No increase?
That's my last word.
Okay, fellas, let's go. All right, folks, let's have order. You've all heard the report. Your committee recommends strike.
Let's call the question.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your hands. All right, put them down. Those opposed? It's unanimously carried.
strike lasted about 8 weeks and completely stopped production. The union committee and management conferred long hours trying to get together.
We've been sitting here the past few days getting nowhere. Now, we have one last compromise offer to make. And when I say last, I mean last.
All right. Let's hear it.
Well, for
Wait a
instance,
minute, John, let me tell him. Let's face facts. To begin with, you people say you can't give us any more money because you can't cut production costs.
That's correct.
All right, here's our proposition. We think we know how production costs can be cut. After all, we work in the plant, and we're closer to some of these things than you are.
Just what do you mean?
I mean, we'll help cut costs and improve production, providing you give us workers a share of the savings. Now, how about it?
We'll talk it over. Excuse me.
Look, we have everything to gain and nothing to lose.
Sure, if they can really reduce our costs, but that's a mighty big if.
Will you go along with us?
I'm in agreement.
Okay. We'll give it a try.
Now, everyone knows on what basis the strike was settled. We all get a share of any of the savings we make. Now, let's all get busy, okay? Meeting adjourned.
Zeichner and Lombardo were to work out suggestions that would increase production and get the workers a share of the benefits. They knew it wouldn't be easy.
Hello, Mr. Lewison.
Hello, Lombardo.
Oh, Mr. Lewison.
Yeah.
Are you going to back us up in this thing?
Look, you were given this job. I have my doubts of how it's going to work out.
What's the matter? Don't you believe in it?
Sure I do. When I see the results. Third floor, Fred. Well, here they are. These are the production, costs, and payroll records.
Hey, you expect us to dig through that stuff?
But don't let these scare you, Lombardo. It's as easy as pushing your head through a stone wall.
Huh.
Good night. Take it easy. Don't strain yourselves.
Went into the factory to get suggestions for improving production. Some workers, and some foremen too, resented it. But it soon began to pay off. Zeichner found a girl in the packing department passing defective pencils. She said she did it to raise her output. But he pointed out that people wouldn't pay good money for bad pencils. And if they stopped buying, they'd all be out of jobs. She stopped doing it.
How are things?
Well, I could save hours with an E-switch.
That's a good idea.
If the pencils would come direct from the machine, it would be faster.
Come in. Morning, John. Morning, Herb.
Well, here they are, 100 recommendations for getting out more production.
Swell.
I bet you won't like them.
Why? We think the union's done a swell job.
How do you know? You haven't even looked at the report.
You think we're blind? You think we don't know what you fellas have been doing these last few months in our shop? You've really done a fine job.
And it was true. They had done a fine job. At the end of the year, we accepted 75% of the union's suggestions. We definitely were on the way to getting a fair day's work for a fair day's pay.
They've been working over 9 years now on a fair day, fair pay basis. Their production's up, their wages are too. It works. Lombardo is still the union shop steward, still president of the gripe department. Every time that phone rings, he knows somebody wants to report a grievance. Here's how the grievance machinery works today. Lombardo gets the details from the committee woman and talks it over with the worker. In this case, Helen Johnson was operating a machine on piecework. There weren't enough of these pencils sold to keep one worker busy, so she couldn't earn enough. The next step is to talk to the department foreman. In this particular instance, the foreman was unable to do anything. Therefore, according to the contract, this grievance was taken directly to Mr. Lewis.
Busy, Dick?
Oh, busier than usual. What's the bad news today, John?
Well, not much. You know this girl, Helen Johnson, don't
Oh,
you?
yeah, I know
Well,
all about her case. Sit down.
Thanks.
Now, let's have a talk.
Well, what are you going to do about her, Dick? She's taking a beating and a paycheck. It ain't her fault.
What do you suggest?
Well, raise the wages 20 cents an hour?
Uh-uh. We couldn't afford to do that with a sideline pencil. You know that, John.
Well, what are you prepared to do about it?
Let me think. I got an idea. How about if we added one of this type pencil to our school box? We could undoubtedly sell more boxes. And that would raise production enough to put Helen on full time.
Swell.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I guess that's all for today.
Okay. Say, John.
Yeah.
I'm going over to the other plant. How about taking a walk with me?
Okay, Dick.
I'd like to talk to you about something else. It's about the union in general.
Anything the matter?
No, nothing. I just wanted to tell you that I never thought it would work, but it does.
Good.
Now, don't get me wrong, John. There are plenty of things we don't like about the union. For example, that grievance machinery takes a lot of time. It gives us headaches. But we are settling our differences, and production has increased.
Sure. And we make suggestions that are good for both of us.
That's right.
Yes, both sides gain. Management now has no strikes to stop production. The workers have more enthusiasm for their jobs. Hourly production is up 15%. The company gets more productivity. It gets a fair day's work. The workers have more security. They feel they belong, that they are part of a team. They have a fair chance to advance. They get honest consideration of their problems and grievances. They've found it pays to do better work, to suggest improvements. They get more money for more production. They get a fair day's pay.
That's the way it goes, Dick. We give a little, we take a little, we compromise and we cooperate.
Exactly.
There's no doubt about it. We're both profiting by working together. Right, John?
Right.
So that character actor, the guy who's representing management, I can't remember his name, but he shows up in other educational films that I have, and also, of course, in lots of television and movies. God, I'm trying to remember a role I saw him on recently. Something from the 70s. I always call him the poor man's... wow, these cold meds are killing me. Shoot. I can't remember. Yikes. Anyways, coffee would help. If you buy me coffee at ko-fi.com/avgeeks. That's one way you can support us. Is I think the caffeine that I had this morning is beginning to kind of, and the cold meds are going, so my energy is beginning to fade. Yeah, what was his name? Anyways, yes. John Randolph? Yeah, thanks everybody. That's the name of the guy. But thanks for joining us today. Tomorrow, I hope to be not so doped up on cold meds, but, you know, my colds kind of last for a while, so it's really frustrating. And I did COVID tests, and I know it's not COVID, and it's just, I'm all snotty and all that stuff. So, everybody have a great rest of your day today, Thursday, and we will see you again tomorrow. If you like what you saw, you can hit the thumbs up, the like button, the subscribe button. As always, I love your comments and sharing and all that. Everybody, see you soon. See you tomorrow.